missing 15-year-old girl gone for over a year. Then her body is discovered in a front trunk of a Tesla. And this is not just any car, this is one registered to an up-and-coming chart-topping musician. The vehicle had been abandoned in Hollywood Hills, untouched, unsearched, and by the time it was searched, it was too late. This is the disturbing case of Celeste Rivas, and what we know so far is disturbing, and this is just the beginning. Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be covering a case that has not just shocked Los Angeles, but the musical world itself. It's a case where celebrity, tragedy, and mystery all collide. And at the heart of it, a young girl, Celeste Rivas, whose life ended far too soon. Now this story is still developing, so keep that in mind. Some details can change as more information comes out. But right now we're going to piece together everything that has been reported so far. We're going to talk about the background, the discovery, the investigation, and the unanswered questions. So let's start with the victim, Celeste Rivas Hernandez, who was just 15 years of age. Her friends described her as bubbly, fun, but also vulnerable, like most teenagers. She went missing on April the 5th, 2024, and her family reported her missing to the police. And just like most other missing teen cases, it didn't really get the headlines at the time, and months went by with no answers. Her description was shared on flyers. She described with having wavy black hair, 5'2", and was last seen in casual clothes. One unique detail they gave was that she had a small tattoo on her finger which read shush, something most 15-year-olds wouldn't even have. But this became very important later when investigators tried to ID her. So imagine being her family, over a year of not knowing, holding out hope she might come home, and then suddenly getting this devastating news. Now here's the twist, and this is what changed it from just a missing persons case to an international headline. The car her body was found in was a Tesla, but it wasn't just anyone's Tesla. It was registered to a man called David Anthony Burke, better known in the musical world as D4vd. If you don't know who he is, D4vd blew up in TikTok in 2022 and 2023 with his breakout song Romantic Homicide, which became a viral sensation. He followed it up with a song called Here With Me, and suddenly the teenager from Texas was charting worldwide. By 2025, he's touring internationally, releasing albums, making headlines as one of the next big names in pop, and he's only 20 years of age. So when the media reported that it was actually his car where the body was found, the internet exploded. But, and this is really important to say, just because it was registered to him doesn't mean it was him driving it, doesn't mean it was him using it, or even aware of what was inside. And at the time her body was discovered, David was reportedly on a world tour, and his team have said he is fully cooperating with investigations. So the question is, if it was not him, who was using the Tesla? So let's run through a little bit of the timeline. So early September 2025, neighbours in the Hollywood Hills noticed a Tesla parked up in the street in the Bird Streets neighbourhood. Expensive cars aren't usually in the area, but this was left there and unmoved for a number of days. And eventually, due to a number of reports of this abandoned car, it was towed away and impounded in Hollywood. On September the 8th, around 12:30 p.m, officers responded to reports of a foul odour at the impound lot. They investigated the Tesla, opened the frunk, and that's the front trunk in Teslas, and they found a body wrapped up inside. The body was in a severe state of decomposition, suggesting it had been there for at least several days, maybe even longer. And investigators initially couldn't identify because of the condition. But that shush tattoo we mentioned earlier, plus dental records, confirmed it was Celeste. And imagine that, a missing teen sitting in an abandoned luxury car on one of the most famous streets in Hollywood while the world just goes on around her. So the LAPD immediately launched an investigation, a full-scale investigation, and this is what we know so far. The death is being treated as suspicious. Some outlets reporting it's being investigated as a homicide, though officially the medical examiner hasn't ruled out the cause of death yet. A search warrant was executed at a Hollywood Hills home where David had been staying. That house is not owned by him, it's important to say, but he has been living there. And police reportedly collected evidence from inside. Investigators are also analysing forensic evidence from the Tesla. They're looking at fingerprints, they're looking at DNA fibres, they're looking at GPS data. Teslas do track a lot of information, so investigators may be able to pinpoint exactly where the car was driven and when. And toxicology tests are pending, but because of the decomposition of the body, it does complicate the results. And right now, authorities haven't named any suspects. No arrests have been made, but they have confirmed they are pursuing multiple leads. And the detail that fueled endless speculation online. Celeste's tattoo, the shush tattoo she had on her right index finger, and photos show that David himself has the same tattoo in the same place. Is this coincidence? A shared cultural trend maybe? Or something more? And police have not said whether the tattoo connection has any significance in this case. But for the internet, it's become one of the strangest aspects to the story. And again, it's really important to stress, tattoos are not unique. Plenty of people get the same words inked, but in this case, because it's so mysterious, every detail feels suspicious. So this is where the case gets a little bit messy. There is some unanswered questions, okay? So we need to find out, how did she end up in the Tesla? Who placed her body in that car? Was she killed somewhere else and then dumped in there, or did she die in the car herself? Why abandon the vehicle in such a public area? Abandoning a vehicle in that kind of area straight away raised suspicion as to what it was doing there. And did she know someone in David's circle, or was this car being used by people he barely knew himself? And there's also the timeline issue. She went missing in April 2024. But wasn't found until September 2025, over a year later. Where was she during this time? Was she alive for part of it? These are questions investigators will be looking at very closely. And for her family, this is an absolute nightmare. Over a year of waiting only to learn their daughter's body was discovered in such horrific circumstances. They've spoken publicly. They've described her as loving, playful, and far too young to die. They've also set up a fundraiser with funeral costs, with services planned for October the 5th. The family deserves answers and justice. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to put that link in the description below if you want to go and donate to the funeral. And as I said at the start, this case is still unfolding. The autopsy, toxicology, and forensic reports could completely change how we understand what happened to this young girl. Was this a tragic coincidence involving a famous musician's car? Maybe. Or is there a deeper connection waiting to be uncovered? For now, all we can do is follow the facts and what we know so far. We can keep pressure on for the answers. And remember that the centre of all of this isn't a celebrity. It's a 15-year-old girl whose life has ended far too soon. Until the next time, stay curious, stay safe, and we'll see you in the next video.